We have the 2017 Mazda CX-5, which gets a fresh new design and a ton of cool technology. But we also have the fan-favorite Toyota RAV4, which is always among the top sales in this segment. But let's stop babbling and jump in these cars and see which one is worth your hard-earned money. Let's start in the CX-5, which is newer for this year and a little bit more interesting to drive. As you can see, the car looks like its big brother, the CX-9, and overall has this really nice premium feel. In fact, we wanted to get this car for our Utility Vehicle of the Year shootout, but unfortunately Mazda couldn't get it to us in time. If we did have it for that comparison, we'd be able to show off just how premium this car looks in comparison to some luxury cars. The interior design is fantastic in this car, and the fit and finish is pretty good as well. And I absolutely love the tactile feeling knobs and stalks in this car. It really makes the car feel engaging just by flipping switches or changing the HVAC controls. And while some people will find the floating infotainment display a little tacky looking, I find it really useful because it puts the information nice and high up. And since we're talking about the infotainment system, we might as well bring up the fact that you can control it with this knob in the center console, or when the car is parked, it's also a touchscreen. And technology is an advantage in this Mazda. It has all of the fancy driver assistance features and safety technologies that you expect in some of these cars, like lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, and blind spot monitoring. It even has a true head-up display, not that flimsy screen that you see in some of the cheaper vehicles. That head-up display is really the killer app in this Mazda CX-5. It shows you your current speed and can even show you information like your blind spot monitoring system, and can read road signs so you know what the speed limit is. And the other great part of this car is once you start driving it, the Mazda feels absolutely great on the road with excellent steering and great throttle response. Under the hood is a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine that makes 187 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. Now, all of that power is sent to the wheels through a 6-speed automatic transmission. But I think that's the weakest part of this car. It never feels like it's in the right gear. It hesitates a little bit too long when it comes to downshifting, and it always seems eager to jump into the highest gear possible. And as a result, it never feels like it's in the right gear that you need it to be. Fortunately, there's this sport mode that is a little bit more aggressive, but there needs to be an in-between setting. I think that the high-tech features in this car are a little bit more advanced than what you get in the Toyota, and they're much more customizable. For example, in this car, you can customize the lane departure warning system so that it emits a vibrating noise instead of a high-pitched beep, which is far more subtle. And for those who might have the interest in towing with these vehicles, know that the Mazda is rated for 2,000 pounds, which is 500 pounds more than the Toyota RAV4. I also have to praise this new G-vectoring control system, which uses the engine torque to improve the handling of this car in everyday driving. By cutting the torque, it adds weight over the front wheels that will improve your steering feel and make the car feel smoother and more responsive. But smooth driving is typically a trait associated with Toyota, so let's jump into the RAV4 and see how that compares to this car. As soon as you get in the Toyota, you realize that this car might have a different audience than the Mazda. It feels a little bit more utilitarian and less premium than the CX-5. And while I do think that this car has a pretty good sense of fit and finish, I also think that these materials, while less premium, will live up to the wear and tear of being a family vehicle a little bit better than the Mazda will. Technology-wise, this car offers a lot of the same tech that the Mazda offers. So it has adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and blind spot assistance as well. But it feels less advanced. It just doesn't offer the same amount of customizability, and there's certainly no head-up display. Instead of that, the killer feature in this car is this really neat 360-degree 3D camera, which is an evolution of the surround view camera that you get in other vehicles. But I'm not a huge fan of the infotainment system in this car. It feels a little clunky to use, and it's not very quick. Now, both of these cars do not offer Apple CarPlay or Android Auto compatibility, and I think that's a huge miss. Another thing worth mentioning in these two cars is space. The Toyota has less headroom and legroom than the Mazda in both the front and rear of the vehicle, but it also features a ton more cargo space. In fact, the Toyota has 38 cubic feet of storage behind the rear seats, while the Mazda has just over 31. And when you drop those rear seats, you get even more space. Now, things don't come that easy when defining the cargo space of these two vehicles, because the Mazda also features split folding rear seats that are set up in a 40-20-40, while this Toyota just has 60-40. Additionally, the Toyota features a lower load floor, so overall I think it has the better cargo hauling capabilities. Let's talk about power. This car also uses a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, which makes 176 horsepower and 172 pound-feet of torque. It also feels pretty good, but what makes this car feel even better is the 6-speed automatic transmission in this vehicle, which is far more smoother and eager to change gears. In fact, sometimes we thought it was a CVT with how quickly it was eager to rev up the engine. But that really smooth transmission has a bit of an impact when it comes to fuel economy. This car gets only 22 miles per gallon in the city and 28 miles per gallon on the highway, while the CX-5 gets 1 more mile per gallon in both driving situations. It's not a huge difference, but it might be enough for some buyers. Of course, Toyota's bulletproof reliability might also be enough to sway buyers as well. The Big T might not make big drastic changes to its cars every year, but there's a reason for that, and it's to maintain its pristine ratings in terms of reliability. Pricing is another area worth mentioning. The Toyota starts at just over $25,000, while the model we tested costs about $37,000 including destination. The Mazda is slightly cheaper in both situations. It starts at almost $25,000, while our fully loaded model comes in at $33,765. After driving these two cars back to back, it seems like they're targeting a completely different set of audiences. The Toyota here is more practically minded. It features a ton of cargo space and has that reputation for excellent reliability. But the Mazda here is not only more affordable, but it feels more upscale. You might have a different set of priorities than me, but if it was my money, I'd take this